everybody, and welcome to C&S Corvette and Lyle's Friday podcast. It has been one crazy week and one crazy year, but I'm going to continue on with my series of the 5 things never to do as a Corvette owner. I've covered C5s and C6s at this point. I'm sorry, C4s and C5s. I have been asked repeatedly to now cover C3s and C6s, which I will be doing today. First video of today is going to be the 5 things never to do as a C3 Corvette owner. Number 1, as with the C4s and the C5s, never ever put your tops, and of course on C3, 2, not 1, on the car without latching them down. Now, in theory, you should never be able to drive that car with the tops on it but not latched, because the latches hang right here in your vision. But they still fly off. They still end up going airborne, hitting people's windshields. We still lose a bunch of them every year. So make sure you build the habit of always latching the tops when you put it on the car, no matter what else is happening. Do that before you do anything else. Number 2, do not ignore vacuum issues. Now, your headlight system, up and down, works off of engine vacuum. So does all of the shuffling of the air direction behind your dash for your AC and your heat. That is all engine vacuum that moves all those things. Opens doors, opens, closes headlights, all of that, right? Most of these cars, unless they've had their vacuum systems gone through in the last few years, have at least one vacuum leak. You know, they open their headlights and one's like, and the other's like, You get the idea. Vacuum leaks are a problem. Not only because you lose functionality on the headlights and the AC and the other things, it's bad for your engine, guys, because the longer you let a vacuum leak go and the worse that vacuum leak gets, you're starting to make your engine run lean, meaning that it is getting more air than it needs for the fuel that it's metering through the carburetor. And what's going to happen is, long term, you can burn a valve, you can burn a piston, or you can kill your engine. Don't let vacuum problems linger. Even if you're not concerned about fixing the headlight problem, even if you're not concerned about AC, you have to make sure that you aren't leaking vacuum anywhere. Never, ever forget that. Number 3, on both doors, obviously you have side glass, either roll up or power window, right? Okay. Those are adjustable. Not only adjustable this way, they're adjustable this way. What I see so often is, especially as cars get older or somebody's been in there working on it and hasn't tightened everything down, you'll see the rear trailing top edge of, like, let's say the driver's door glass, right? Comes back and it goes down. Right at that corner, the glass has shifted backward just enough to where when you close your door, that back corner is catching either the roll bar, the B pillar above you, and just nicking it like this every time you close your door, or it can be hitting the fabric or even the metal of your folding soft top assembly if your car is so equipped. Here's the problem with that. Not only, at minimum, you're going to nick the paint on your B pillar. At maximum, one day you're going to close that door and you're going to end up with a bunch of really shiny sand that used to be your door glass. So if your windows are out of adjustment, don't let it go. Make sure that you never ignore that. Also, obviously, water intrusion plays into that too, especially if you have the older cars where the seatbelt retractors are tucked under the seats. Man, if your weather strip isn't good, or if your windows aren't adjusted correctly and you're getting water in that car, those are just going to become 2 large lumps of rust, and seatbelts are not cheap. So keep that in mind. Number 4, when you replace your battery or you're inspecting your battery cables, okay? It's always great to check both ends, but people tend to forget the negative battery connection on the frame under the battery box and kind of up right behind where the driver's lower back would be in the car. This is under the car. You cannot see it from in the car. That gets corroded. That will kill batteries. That will cause draws. That will cause all kinds of problems, and because people can't readily see it, they forget about it. So you always want to keep that particular ground clean, and you want to monitor the cable's health, because if you see that cable start to swell and get bigger, that means it's full of corrosion and it is not conducting electricity as it should. So never forget to keep an eye on that. Finally, especially on the rears on a C3, don't ever ignore wheel bearing noise. If you've ever had a wheel bearing start to go bad on you, you can hear that row, 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 that kind of growling behind you, okay? Particularly on the rears of a C3, you don't want to let that go too far, because as that wheel bearing starts to give up and is no longer spinning smoothly and concentrically, it starts to build heat. And one of two things is going to happen. Either that wheel bearing is going to catch fire, which we just had a 79 Corvette about a month ago where that happened. Ignored the sound long enough, woof, and now his fenders burned, all kinds of stuff, insurance, long-term, money, blah, blah, blah. Above and beyond that spindle catching fire because of the wheel bearing, that wheel bearing can cut through the spindle. Now let me explain how that occurs. So your bearing gets hot, it starts oscillating, and now that spindle is doing this in that bearing, and just like a wire saw over time, it's going to cut through that. And one day you're going to be driving, make a nice hard left in a good performance turn. Your car's going to go this way and your right rear wheel is going to keep going that way. You will actually see it rolling past your car as you start to spin. So that is incredibly dangerous because, you know, if you're lucky enough to have a median, maybe you survive. If you're on a two-way road and you start to spin, that doesn't look good at all. So if you start hearing that row, 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 growling from the rear of your car, have it looked at immediately so it doesn't cost you a lot of money or even your life in the long run. There we have it, folks, the 5 things you never want to do as a C3 Corvette owner. Let me know what your comments are. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can keep bringing you this kind of cool content. If you have other things to add or you have questions, feel free to give me a call at 800-886-5064. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.